Hello and welcome to the channel. I am that Evernote guy, providing actionable content that you yourself can use to make your Evernote better and better. This week we're going to have an in-depth look at Evernote tasks. I did a quick release video about a week ago as soon as it came out saying, wow, this is new, this is exciting, and I promised that I'd come back with a more in-depth review having used it for a week. So without further ado, I'm going to chuck myself down there and I'm going to get into this and have a look at this right now in my Evernote. Okay, here we are. We are in my demo account, as you can see, and I've got set it up in a sort of real world scenario that I actually use Evernote. I would have a pinned note here, which I call my link master, with all my weekly meeting notes, and I use that to quickly get to my meeting notes. I know I can do that specifically if you have regular calls with people, and if you're in a real world meeting scenario, you don't want to be fiddling around in your note system with thousands of notes in trying to find the note you want. It's a little bit embarrassing. So I keep this link master here and then I quickly go to my meeting notes. So I've put some mock ones in here. I've got my weekly meeting with my area manager there, and I've started to put some Evernote tasks in, as you can see. And then I've got my meeting with the TLR, the Lord Raglan there, and I've put some attendees in there and some notes, and just to make it look a bit more realistic. And I've put some tasks in there, started to put some due dates, and I've done that for a couple of other meetings as well. So let's see how that looks in Evernote tasks. So if I was starting my day and I wanted to go to my tasks, I would navigate over to the tasks section. When you hover on it, nothing happens. You do need to click it, and when you click it, it gives this pop out, and that is time to move me over there. And this pop out then gives you all your tasks. And as you can see, I've only created a few for a few notes, but that's quite a long list. I wouldn't suggest that's particularly manageable in that format. You'd be scrolling down, scrolling up. Have I done this? Have I done that? So I think I would be more inclined to shrink everything down and use it like that. And then I would probably think, right, yeah, TCX, what have I got to do for them? The coal exchange. I'll have a look in my weekly. Oh yeah, got to ask Tony about band night drinks promotion. I think I'd be more likely to use it like that. And then shrink that one back up. What am I doing for the Lord Raglan? Oh yeah, I've got those tasks there. Potential tie-up with the Goodwood Races outing. Good idea. Due 26th of June. Okay, no problem. So I think I would use it more likely like that. If we have a look by due date, again, it expands everything out. I think this is more usable because it defaults to next 7 days, which I like. I really like that as a feature. So you can see what is due in the next 7 days, and then future stuff, which, as you can see from these dates, spans almost the next month. So I think that's a nice little touch. I don't know if I didn't have to do anything to set that up. That was automatic. I don't know if it does anything more like required by tomorrow. Well, let's have a test. Let's put a new task in. Does this show as required by tomorrow? And we'll set the due date as the 16th of June, which is tomorrow as I record. And we'll create that, and that's going to go in the things to do. So, and as we can see, it's automatically updated there, and it has got required by tomorrow. I'm guessing it probably does required by today as well. Let's do that quickly. Does this show required by today? Set due date, and that's today. Create. Okay, and yeah, that also shows us today as well. So I quite like that because you could enter in your tasks, and rather than scrolling through everything, you go, what is due today? What have I got on today? What do I need to get done by today? And then you could work from that list, and it gives you a heads up to what's due tomorrow. So you've got any spare time, you could work on that, and then what's coming up. I think that's a nice feature. I like that. I did consider doing something like that in my own task system, but unfortunately I found that the Evernote reminders, when I was using reminders to do that and set that up, that they didn't update very frequently. So I'd put a whole bunch of stuff like that example there, due today, and it wouldn't update for 3 or 4 or 5 hours, sometimes 6 hours. Obviously that's just not workable as a system. And finally here we've got the flagged view, which I like as well. So I've create another demo task there. So I'm guessing you could use this for P1, really important, or whatever you want to use the flagging system for. So that's a nice clean look, gets rid of everything else, just shows the flag stuff. And just for reference, that flag stuff does show there as well, but within the big list here, these little icons. These are reminders here. So these are not due dates, they're reminders, so they will come up. I'm not sure how they surface in real world. And going back to our full note view here. So some of the way it works, it's got some good elements, it's got some elements that could do with tidying up. I don't personally feel that this size of window is good enough for your task management system. I would much prefer it to be a half size. I think that's because the Evernote system, is default as this side here has your notes, and this side here has your list of notes, sorry. This side here has your actual note content, and I don't think there was a place for tasks. I mean, where would they put that and keep that all in sync? Would they overwrite the big list? Would they overwrite the content? That's not really going to work. So I think they've just done it here to show there. What I do like, because I have tested this on Mac, on Windows, on web, which initially wasn't released but is now released. I'll need to update one of my comments to my viewers who asked about that. I've tested it on Android tablet and on iPhone, so I have tried to do the full gamut. On tablet and iPhone, this, because of the nature of those devices, this does show as the full screen, obviously on iPhone, but on tablet it shows as full screen as well, which I really like because it just gives it a lot more room to work with, and it's easier to view. So let's have a look at some of the one could potentially describe as issues here. Let's use the coal exchange. If I tick all of these as done, they all disappear, but the meeting note doesn't disappear. See, it has moved from our view there, because I think I've got, if there's no tasks to do on it, default the note to go to the bottom of the list, which is an option around here. Yeah, move completed to bottom. And that also works for just the individual tasks. If I tick that there, that deletes to the bottom. That's actually disappeared, so I'm not sure what settings do we have here. So show completed, right, so we're not showing completed tasks, which is why that disappeared. But once you tick this is the weird bit, once you tick all the items off, like I have done in this meeting note here, TCX weekly meeting, there's nothing there, nothing to do. We can see just about there that's grayed out, it's got a 0. It doesn't disappear from this list. Now you might think that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's a bad thing, because if I use this in my own personal real world workflow, I would end up with 50, 100 notes here. And okay, stuff you haven't done all gets chucked to the bottom, but do you really want to be scrolling through 100 notes? And imagine if you had that all, if you preferred the expanded view, it would be insane. So I don't know why it persists as a note in that view when it doesn't have any tasks. It used to have tasks and they're all done. Now, because I was curious about this, I did find a way to get rid of this, but I don't think it's a workable way. As you can see, they're all there. If I deleted all these tasks, and let's do that now. Let's click on the task, delete, click, delete, click, delete. Now I believe it will disappear. Yeah, so now it's disappeared from that view. So what we can establish from this, if a note has ever had a task, even if those tasks are completed, it will remain in this list. You and I know once you start to use this over time, that is going to build and build and build. And unless they put, a line in here to say, everything below this one here has got old tasks in it, that's not very manageable. You're gonna have to scroll down until you get to 0 and go, oh right, yeah, that doesn't have any anymore. Or you're gonna have to delete all your old tasks. And again, that really doesn't give you a track record and a history of what you've done. As I said, I use this format and for my weekly meetings. I would add a task 1, task 2. Top tip there, when this first came out, when you pressed enter, it just started a new task and you couldn't get out of it. I found that double enter gets you back into typing mode. So I would have a meeting note like that. I would complete the tasks, and then I would have, let's pretend it's the next week, Let's pretend this is the 22nd of June, and then I would start my my next meeting here and start putting my notes in. So that's how I run my meetings, and this doesn't really support that. If you're going to have to delete all your tasks to not show them in that list, you're going to lose your task history, because the first thing I would come in here and say, oh, hi Jordan, hi Sharon, great meeting last week. Look, just to recap, task 1, all over it, that's completed, that's done. Task 2, that's done. If you've deleted them, they're not there clearly, so you don't have that track record of what you have done for the client or the customer. So that doesn't really work for me, which means you are going to end up with a massive list of stuff here. So you're going to need to work out if that works for you. You also, unless you're happy with this multiple expanded view, and again, it would be great if there was an option to expand all here or shrink all. If you want that expanded view, I mean, this is going to be an even bigger note to scroll down, and that for me is just too confusing. That doesn't work for me. So I would definitely have that shrunk like that all the way. So it's some good and bad stuff. Let me just show you a comparison to my own task management system that I set up in Evernote. And I'm just going to flick over here. So this is the web version now. Appears to be a problem with the pinned note in the web version. As you can see, it's not there. If I refresh this, I think that should appear back, and you're going to see all my regular meetings if it launches in time. And nope, that pinned note is still not up. There it is. Okay, so this is how I use it. Here's my pinned note there, and those are my weekly meetings that I have. So let's just look at my P1 tasks that I have in my system. Use my shortcut, Control 1 for P1. And this is my list of tasks here. I'm actually a little bit behind on my stuff here. I've got 31 in P1 here. And as you know, if you've been following my stuff, I use an emoji system powered by bots to tell me where everything is. So those are all my priority 1 tasks. I prefer that because I know the orange stuff I'm waiting for people. The blue stuff, I've made time to schedule time to do that later. And the white stuff is the stuff I need to touch, because that is untouched and it's the stuff I need to get involved with. So I prefer that quick visual reference, which I've spoken about at length, and go and check out my videos if you want to see some of that. Versus that look there. It's cleaner, it's got a bit more spacing between it, but you don't know what needs to be action, when's it due, all that kind of stuff. So you're going to need to go to the due date, and I do like the due date look. I don't know. That's for one for you to decide. I mean, some people might find that it's just too much information. I'm used to using it like that, and I know I can just kind of go into click on any of the tasks and get a little bit of case history there, depending on what I've done. And so that works for me, because then I can quickly let's put some more info. Oh, that's interesting. So the shortcut, that's interesting. So I use the exact same date shortcut there, Alt-Shift-D on Windows. I'll put the Mac one in the description, but they display in different ways depending on if you've done it on web or on desktop. Anyway, so I like that view. That works for me. Whereas going in here, okay, what's that task? I can click on it. That opens up the task. It didn't open up the meeting. If I want to open up the meeting, I have to go there. Okay, now I can see the task in there. And I like to make notes about the task as I'm doing it. I can't do that here. Unless I started making notes in the actual task title, that doesn't work for me. I mean, I could make notes underneath the task. This is going well. I suppose I could do that, and then you could move back, but it doesn't give you that quick look there. So I don't know. There's pluses and minuses to this system. But the most important thing, and I'm going to close this video out now. The most important thing is I watched a video from Evernote, and the key fact I learnt about Evernote tasks is there is plenty more to come. This is beta, early access beta, whatever you want to call it. We know that. But the important thing is there's plenty more to come. I watched another video with the CEO, and he said, we view tasks as important as notes in the Evernote structure and development cycle and development plan, which means there's stuff going to happen to tasks over years to come. So you can imagine that Evernote are going to put a lot more effort into this, make it richer, smooth out some of these glitches, make it more usable. So that there is that big plus side to consider that if you get into Evernote tasks, there is lots of development to come, and then potentially you've got that nirvana of having all your tasks, all your meeting notes, etc., and reference materials in one system, which for me was the whole point where I developed my own system to make it super productive. Anyway, I'd really welcome and value your comments. What have you done with tasks? Have you used it this week? Do you think you're going to use it? Does it make my system redundant? I looked at ways to try and combine it and use it with my own system. Couldn't find out a way to make that work, but I will still keep considering how to do that. But that's it for this week. Thank you very much. If you have questions, ping me. I always respond to every single comment. So happy to get involved, happy to get engaged. Thank you very much. See you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.